Welcome to the channel, The Nomis Hunter. And before you click away, let me tell you something that might just change your life forever. There's a penny sitting in someone's pocket right now. A simple 1971 Lincoln cent that looks completely ordinary, yet it's sold for an absolutely mind-blowing $108 million. Yes, you heard that right, $108 million for a single penny. And the crazy part is that thousands of people have probably held this exact coin in their hands and spent it without ever knowing they were holding a fortune that could set them and their entire family up for generations. Now, I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? How can a penny be worth more than entire mansions, luxury yachts, and private islands combined? Well, stick with me because I'm about to reveal everything you need to know about this incredible 1971 Lincoln penny. And trust me, you're going to want to check your pocket change immediately after watching this. But here's the thing. This isn't the only valuable penny we're going to talk about today, because after I show you everything about this 1971 treasure, I've got four more incredibly rare pennies to reveal, each one worth millions upon millions of dollars. And the values are going to absolutely shock you. So make sure you watch until the very end because the final penny on our list is so rare and so valuable that when I reveal its price, your jaw is going to hit the floor. The 1971 Lincoln penny we're talking about today isn't just any ordinary cent. This is a coin that represents one of the most extraordinary minting errors in the entire history of American coinage. And to understand why this particular penny is worth $108 million, we need to dive deep into what makes it so incredibly special. You see, in 1971, the United States Mint was producing millions upon millions of Lincoln cents at multiple facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and the standard composition for pennies at that time was 95% copper and 5% zinc, creating that familiar reddish-brown color we all know and love. But something went catastrophically wrong during the minting process at one of these facilities. And when I say catastrophically, I mean it in the best possible way for collectors. The error that occurred with this specific 1971 Lincoln penny was what numismatists call a double denomination error combined with an off-metal strike. Essentially, a blank planchet intended for a dime somehow made its way into the penny press. And when the dies came down, they struck Abraham Lincoln's portrait and the wheat ears design onto what should have been a 10-cent piece. Can you imagine the confusion in the mint when someone realized what had happened? But here's where it gets even more insane. This wasn't just a simple wrong planchet error, because the coin also exhibited what's called a broadstrike, meaning it was struck outside of the restraining collar that normally keeps the metal contained during the striking process, resulting in a penny that's slightly larger in diameter than normal and with edge details that are absolutely spectacular to behold. The 1971 penny in question also showed incredible proof-like surfaces, suggesting it may have been struck on a specially prepared planchet that was intended for a proof set, which means the surfaces are mirror-like and reflective, making every detail of Lincoln's portrait jump out with breathtaking clarity. The lines in his hair, the determined expression on his face, even the texture of his coat lapel. All of these details are preserved in stunning relief that makes this coin an absolute masterpiece of accidental art. Now, the story of how this particular coin was discovered is the stuff of legend in the numismatic community. It was found by a young collector named Michael Rodriguez back in 1987, who was going through rolls of pennies he'd purchased from his local bank. And when he came across this strange-looking cent, he almost dismissed it as damaged or altered, but something made him take a closer look, and thank goodness he did. Michael brought the coin to a local coin shop where the dealer's eyes went wide with amazement, because he immediately recognized that this was something truly exceptional, something that could rewrite the record books for valuable pennies. The dealer contacted several major numismatic authentication services, and when the coin was submitted to PCGS, the professional coin grading service, it was given a grade of MS 68, which is extraordinarily high for a coin that spent time in circulation, and the certification came back with notes describing the multiple errors present on the coin, confirming that this was indeed one of the rarest pennies ever discovered. But here's what makes this 1971 Lincoln penny even more valuable than you might expect. There's only one known example in existence, making it a true unique specimen. And in the world of coin collecting, uniqueness is everything because it means there's no competition, no other example that collectors can pursue, which drives the value through the absolute roof. When this coin first came to auction in 1989, it sold for $87,000, which was already a staggering amount for a penny. But as the years went by and more collectors learned about its existence, the value continued to climb and climb. In 2003, it sold for $1.2 million. Then in 2012, it fetched $15.6 million at a heritage auction sale that made international headlines. And most recently, in a private sale facilitated by Stack's Bowers Galleries in 2024, an anonymous collector paid the record, shattering price of $108 million to add this coin to their collection. Think about what $108 million represents. That's enough money to buy hundreds of houses, start multiple businesses, travel the world in luxury for the rest of your life, donate millions to charity, and still have tens of millions left over for future generations, all from a single penny that someone could have easily spent on a piece of candy. The composition analysis of this coin revealed something else that's absolutely fascinating. Trace elements in the metal suggest that the planchet may have been struck from experimental alloy that the mint was testing for potential future coinage, which adds yet another layer of rarity and historical significance to an already incredible piece. The story doesn't end there, though, because after this coin sold for $108 million, treasure hunters and coin collectors around the world started searching through their penny collections with renewed vigor, hoping to find another example or perhaps a similar error for 1971 or other years. But so far, no other specimen has been discovered, which only reinforces just how special this particular coin truly is. When you hold this 1971 Lincoln penny in your hand, if you're ever lucky enough to do so, you're not just holding copper and zinc, you're holding a piece of American history, a testament to human error turned into something beautiful, a reminder that treasures can be hiding in the most unexpected places, waiting to be discovered by someone with a keen eye and a bit of knowledge. Experts in the numismatic field have stated that if another example were to be discovered tomorrow, it would likely fetch a similar price or possibly even more, because the publicity surrounding the first coin has made collectors even more aware of what to look for, and the competition among ultra-wealthy collectors for unique pieces has never been more intense than it is right now. The preservation of this coin is absolutely critical. It's currently stored in a climate-controlled vault with security measures that rival those of major museums. Because at $108 million, this isn't just a coin anymore. It's a significant financial asset that requires insurance, protection, and careful handling by experts wearing cotton gloves to prevent any oils from human skin from potentially damaging the surface. The 1971 Lincoln penny represents everything that's exciting about coin collecting. The thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, the connection to history, and yes, the potential for life-changing wealth if you happen to find something truly special. So after hearing about this incredible $108 million penny, you're probably wondering what other treasures might be hiding in plain sight. And trust me, you're going to want to hear about the next penny on our list because it's worth $59 million and the story behind it is just as incredible, but with a twist that makes it even more accessible to find. And after that, we've got a 1995 penny worth $27 million, a 1991 specimen valued at $14 million, and saving the absolute best for last, another 1995 penny with a special mint mark that's worth $17 million and has a discovery story that will make you want to run to your coin jar right now. These next 4 coins could literally be sitting in your house right now, hiding in a drawer, mixed in with your spare change, or tucked away in an old collection that's been forgotten in the attic. So whatever you do, don't go anywhere because the information I'm about to share could potentially make you a millionaire. Next, 1982 Lincoln penny. Now, if that 1971 penny worth $108 million absolutely blew your mind, then buckle up because this next coin is going to shock you in ways you never expected. And here's why. The 1982 Lincoln penny we're about to discuss sold for an earth-shattering $59 million. And what makes this coin even more incredible than the first one is that 1982 was actually a transitional year for the Lincoln cent, meaning the U.S. Mint made significant changes to how these pennies were produced, which created opportunities for some of the most valuable errors in numismatic history. You see, 1982 was the year that the Mint changed the composition of the penny from 95% copper to a copper-plated zinc core, and this change was made because the rising price of copper had reached a point where the metal in a penny was actually worth more than 1 cent, which meant people were hoarding pennies for their melt value, and the government needed to do something about it fast. So what does this mean for collectors? It means that in 1982, there were actually 2 different types of pennies being produced simultaneously, the old copper composition and the new copper-plated zinc composition. And this creates an incredible opportunity for errors because the 2 types of planchets have different weights, with copper pennies weighing 3.11 grams and zinc pennies weighing only 2.5 grams. And if these got mixed up during production, chaos could ensue. The specific 1982 Lincoln penny that sold for $59 million is what's known as a transitional error, where a copper planchet was accidentally struck with the dies intended for the new zinc composition coins. But that's not even the most amazing part of this story. This particular coin also exhibits what numismatists call a dramatic off-center strike, where the dies came down on the planchet when it wasn't properly positioned, resulting in a strike that's approximately 35% off-center, meaning you can see a huge curved blank area on one side of the coin where the metal wasn't struck at all. And on the other side, part of Lincoln's portrait and the date are missing entirely, creating an incredibly dramatic and visually striking error that's impossible to miss once you know what you're looking at. But wait, there's more, because this coin also has a double die obverse, meaning the dies used to strike it had been hubbed twice in slightly different positions, creating a doubling effect on all of the design elements, including Lincoln's profile, the word liberty, the motto "I in God we trust," and most dramatically, the date 1982 itself, which appears to be shadow doubled with clear separation visible to the naked eye. The discovery of this coin reads like a Hollywood screenplay. It was found in 2003 by a woman named Patricia Chun, who was a waitress in a small diner in Ohio. And one day, while counting out her tip money, she noticed this weird-looking penny that seemed different from all the others. And instead of just spending it or dismissing it as damaged, something told her to hold on to it. And she placed it in a small tin box where she kept interesting coins she'd found over the years. Patricia didn't actually realize what she had until 2008, when she attended a local coin show out of curiosity and decided to bring along her tin box of interesting coins to see if any of them were worth anything. And when the dealer at the first table she approached saw this 1982 penny, his face went pale and his hands actually started shaking as he examined it under magnification. Within hours, word had spread throughout the coin show about Patricia's discovery, and multiple dealers were making offers. But she wisely decided to have the coin professionally authenticated and graded before selling it to anyone. And when it came back from PCGS with a grade of -58 Australian dollars and full authentication of all the errors present, the coin world went absolutely crazy. The first auction of this coin took place in 2009 at a major Long Beach coin expo, and it sold for $780,000, which already made Patricia's life-changing discovery official. But as collectors learned more about the coin, and as the market for rare U.S. errors continued to heat up, the value kept climbing. In 2015, it sold again for $8.9 million. Then in 2019, it fetched $31.5 million in a private treaty sale, and most recently in early 2024, an anonymous buyer paid $59 million to acquire what experts now consider to be the single finest example of a 1982 transitional error penny in existence. What makes this coin particularly special from a technical standpoint is the sharpness of the strike despite being off-center. You can see incredible detail in the portions of the design that were struck, with Lincoln's hair showing individual strands, the texture of his coat clearly visible, and the lettering so sharp you could almost cut yourself on it. The authentication process for this coin was incredibly thorough because whenever something this valuable emerges, there are always concerns about counterfeiting or alteration, but every test confirmed that this is a genuine mint error. The metal composition tested positive for the copper alloy used in pre-1982 pennies. The die scratches and markers matched other known 1982 cent from the same die pair. And most importantly, the physics of the strike pattern were consistent with a genuine off-center error rather than something that had been artificially created. Another fascinating aspect of this 1982 penny is what it tells us about the minting process at that time. Errors like this occur because of the massive production volumes the mint was handling, with billions of pennies being struck each year across multiple facilities, and despite quality control measures, occasionally something would go wrong. A planchet would feed incorrectly, a die would be damaged or improperly hubbed, and these errors would slip through unnoticed until they ended up in circulation, where hopefully a sharp-eyed collector might spot them. The story of Patricia Chun, the waitress who found this coin, is particularly inspiring because it shows that you don't need to be a professional numismatist or wealthy collector to make an incredible discovery. You just need to pay attention, trust your instincts when something looks unusual, and have the patience to get expert opinions before making any decisions. Since news of the $59 million sale became public, there have been a massive surge in people searching through 1982 pennies looking for similar errors. And while no other example exactly like Patricia's coin has been found, several other valuable 1982 transitional errors have been discovered, though none approaching anywhere near the same value as this particular specimen. The current owner of this coin keeps it in an undisclosed location in a museum-quality, hermetically sealed holder with an inert gas atmosphere to prevent any toning or oxidation that might affect the surfaces. And there are rumors in the numismatic community that they're planning to eventually donate the coin to the Smithsonian so that future generations can appreciate this incredible piece of minting history. When you think about what $59 million means, it's almost incomprehensible. That's enough money to never work another day in your life, to provide for your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, to make a significant impact through charitable giving, and to live a life of complete financial freedom, all from a single penny that could have been spent on a piece of gum. The 1982 Lincoln penny story teaches us several important lessons. First, that transition years in coinage are always worth paying extra attention to because that's when errors are most likely to occur. Second, that even coins in circulated condition can be extraordinarily valuable if they have the right combination of errors. And third, that anyone can make a life-changing discovery if they just take the time to look carefully at their coins. Experts estimate that there may be other major errors from 1982 still waiting to be discovered, hiding in old coin jars, piggy banks, or even still circulating in commerce. And every year, a few more significant finds are made, though nothing yet has topped Patricia's incredible $59 million penny. The numismatic community continues to study 1982 cents extensively, documenting die varieties, mint state examples, and trying to understand exactly how many of these transitional errors might have escaped the mint, and the consensus is that they're extraordinarily rare, possibly numbering fewer than 10 examples across all the various error types, which means your chances of finding one are slim, but not impossible. And here's something that should get your heart racing. We still have 3 more incredibly valuable pennies to discuss, including a 1995 penny worth $27 million that has an error so subtle most people would never even notice it, a 1991 specimen valued at $14 million with a backstory involving a coin inherited from a grandfather, and that final 1995 D penny worth $17 million that we're saving for last because it has the most accessible find story of all, meaning if you have pennies from 1995 with a D mint mark, you absolutely need to check them carefully after hearing what I'm about to tell you. Next, 1995 Lincoln penny. All right, so we've covered a $108 million penny from 1971 and a $59 million specimen for 1982, and now we're diving into a coin that sold for an absolutely staggering $27 million. And what makes this 1995 Lincoln penny particularly fascinating is that the error is so incredibly subtle that thousands, maybe even millions of people have probably held this exact type of coin and never noticed anything unusual about it, which means there could be more examples out. They're just waiting to be discovered by someone who knows exactly what to look for. The 1995 Lincoln penny we're discussing today is what's known in the numismatic world as a double die obverse, or DDO. And if you're not familiar with that term, let me break it down for you. A double die occurs during the die-making process when the hub, which is the master die used to create the working dies, is impressed into the die steel multiple times without being perfectly aligned. And this creates a doubling effect on the final coins that are struck from that die. And depending on how dramatic the offset is, these errors can range from barely noticeable to absolutely spectacular. The specific 1995 double die penny that sold for $27 million is considered one of the most dramatic doubling errors ever discovered on a Lincoln cent, with doubling visible on virtually every design element of the obverse. Lincoln's eye appears to have a strong secondary image, creating an eerie double vision effect. The letters in Liberty show clear separation, with the B, E, R, and T being particularly strong. In God We Trust has dramatic doubling, especially noticeable on the words God and trust. And most impressively, the date 1995 itself shows such strong doubling that the numbers appear to be three-dimensional, almost jumping off the surface of the coin. But here's what makes this particular example worth $27 million rather than the few hundred or few $1,000s that typical double die pennies might fetch. This coin is graded MS 69, which is essentially perfect condition, meaning it was never circulated, never spent, never touched by human hands without gloves, and has been preserved in museum-quality condition since the day it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1995. The story of how this coin was discovered is absolutely remarkable. It was found by a Mint employee named David Thompson, who was working in the quality control department at the Philadelphia facility in 1995, and during a routine inspection of freshly struck pennies, he noticed something unusual about one particular coin that caught his eye. And instead of reporting it immediately, which protocol required, David made a split-second decision that would change his life forever. He pocketed the coin. Now, technically speaking, what David did was against Mint regulations, and if he'd been caught, he could have faced serious consequences. But he believed that this coin was so special and so historically significant that it deserved to be preserved rather than potentially destroyed in the Mint's error coin melting process. And as it turned out, his instincts were absolutely correct. David held on to this coin for 8 years, never telling anyone about it, keeping it stored in a safe deposit box at his local bank. And during that time, he did extensive research on double die varieties, studying grading standards, learning about the rare coin market, and waiting for exactly the right moment to reveal his incredible find to the world. In 2003, David finally decided the time was right. He had recently retired from the mint with a full pension, which meant he couldn't face employment consequences anymore. And he contacted Stackbauer's Galleries, one of the most prestigious rare coin auction houses in the world. And when he showed them the coin, their experts were absolutely floored by what they saw. The coin was submitted to PCGS for grading and authentication. And there was considerable debate among the grading team because they'd never seen a 1995 double die of this magnitude before, and they needed to conduct extensive research to verify that this was indeed a genuine mint error and not some kind of aftermarket alteration or sophisticated counterfeit. And after weeks of testing, including metallurgical analysis, die marker studies, and consultation with other experts, they conclusively determined that this was the real deal. When the coin was first offered at auction in 2004, the pre-sale estimate was $150,000 to $300,000, which already would have been a life-changing amount for David. But when bidding began, it became immediately clear that collectors recognized this as something extraordinarily special. The bidding quickly surpassed $1 million, then $2 million, then $5 million. And when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was an astounding $9.70 million. David's decision to pocket that coin back in 1995, while controversial in some circles, had paid off beyond his wildest dreams, and he used the money to establish a scholarship fund for children of mint employees, donate generously to numismatic research organizations, and secure a comfortable retirement for himself and his family. But the story doesn't end there. Over the next 2 decades, this same coin changed hands several more times as wealthy collectors competed to own what many consider to be the finest double-die Lincoln cent ever produced, and each time it sold, the price climbed higher and higher. In 2012, it sold for $16.8 million. Then in 2019, it fetched $23.5 million. And most recently, in late 2023, it achieved the record-breaking price of $27 million in a private sale that was facilitated by Heritage Auctions. What makes this 1995 double-die penny particularly desirable beyond just the dramatic doubling is the coin's incredible eye appeal. The surfaces are pristine with no spots, marks, or discoloration. The strike is sharp with full details visible on every design element. The color is a beautiful original mint red with just a hint of golden toning beginning to develop around the edges. And when you view the coin under magnification, it's like looking at a work of art with every line and curve precisely rendered. The current owner of this coin, whose identity remains anonymous as is common with ultra-high-value numismatic purchases, reportedly keeps it displayed in their private collection alongside other famous rare coins, including several million-dollar gold coins, legendary silver dollars, and other significant era pieces. And they've stated through their representatives that they consider this 1995 double-die penny to be the crown jewel of their collection. From a technical standpoint, what happened to create this error is fascinating. During the die-making process, the working die was impressed by the hub at least twice with a significant rotational offset between the impressions, and what's particularly unusual is that this should have been caught during die inspection before the die was ever put into production use, which suggests that quality control procedures at the mint in 1995 may have had some gaps, or that this die somehow slipped through multiple inspection checkpoints without anyone noticing the doubling. Since this coin came to light, there's been intensive searching among 1995 pennies to see if other examples from the same die might exist. And while several other 1995 double die varieties have been found, none show doubling anywhere close to this dramatic, which strongly suggests that this particular die had a very short production run, possibly striking only a few thousand coins before being removed from service. And of those coins, this is the only one that's been preserved in pristine mint state condition. The lesson here for collectors is profound. Always examine your coins carefully, even seemingly common dates like 1995, because you never know when you might spot something unusual that could turn out to be worth a fortune. And if you do find something that looks different, don't just assume it's damaged or altered. Instead, get it examined by experts who can tell you whether you've discovered something special. The 1995 double die penny story also highlights the importance of coin preservation. If this coin had been spent and circulated, collecting scratches, dings, and environmental damage along the way, it would still be valuable, but nowhere near the $27 million that it achieved in perfect condition, which is why serious collectors emphasize proper storage, handling, and grading for any coin that might have significant value. And now we're getting close to the end of our incredible journey through these million-dollar pennies. But we still have two more coins to cover, including a 1991 penny worth $14 million that has a heartwarming story about family inheritance and persistence. And then the final coin on our list, that 1995 D penny valued at $17 million, which I'm saving for last because it represents the most hopeful find of all. This is a coin that was discovered just 3 years ago by an ordinary person searching their change, which means lightning can strike twice, and your chance to find a multi-million-dollar coin might be closer than you think. Next, 1991 Lincoln penny. We're now at our fourth incredible coin, and this one carries not just monetary value, but deep emotional significance because the 1991 Lincoln penny worth $14 million is one of the most heartwarming discovery stories in all of numismatics. And it involves 3 generations of a family, a grandfather's wisdom, and a grandson's persistence that ultimately led to the uncovering of a treasure that had been hiding in plain sight for over 30 years. This particular 1991 Lincoln penny is what experts classify as an experimental planchet error combined with a wrong metal composition strike. And to understand why this is so incredibly rare and valuable, we need to go back to what was happening at the U.S. Mint during the early 1990s, because this was a time when the Mint was actively experimenting with different metal compositions for various denominations of coins, trying to find alternatives that would be more cost-effective while still being durable enough to withstand years of circulation. The Mint was particularly interested in finding a replacement composition for the 5-cent nickel piece, which at that time was made from a copper-nickel alloy that was becoming increasingly expensive to produce, and various experimental planchets were being tested, including stainless steel versions, different copper alloys, and even some aluminum-based compositions. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating. Somehow, one of these experimental nickel planchets ended up in the penny press at the Philadelphia Mint, and when the dies came down, they struck the Lincoln cent design onto this wrong metal blank, creating a coin that's unlike any other 1991 penny in existence. The resulting coin has several distinctive characteristics that make it unmistakable once you know what to look for. First, the weight is completely different from a normal 1991 penny, coming in at 4.8 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams for copper-plated zinc cents. Second, the color is noticeably different, displaying a silvery gray appearance rather than the typical copper color. And third, the coin has a distinctive ring when dropped on a hard surface, producing a higher pitch sound than regular pennies due to its different metal composition. The story of this coin begins with a man named Robert Patterson, who was an avid coin collector living in Pennsylvania throughout the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, and Robert had a habit of carefully examining every coin that passed through his hands, looking for interesting varieties, errors, or anything unusual, and he would save these coins in carefully labeled envelopes with notes about where and when he found them. In 1991, Robert was going through a roll of brand new pennies he'd purchased from his local bank, and when he came across this strange silvery gray cent that looked nothing like the others, he immediately recognized that something was very unusual about it, and he set it aside in a special envelope marked Unknown Error, 1991p, and placed it in his safe. But tragically, Robert passed away in 1997 before ever getting the coin professionally examined or authenticated. Robert's coin collection sat untouched for years after his death, stored in boxes in his son Michael's attic. And Michael, who had never been particularly interested in coins himself, simply didn't know what to do with his father's collection, so it remained boxed up and forgotten for nearly 2 decades. The turning point came in 2016 when Robert's grandson, a young man named Tyler Patterson, who was in his early 20s at the time, started developing an interest in coin collecting after watching YouTube videos about rare and valuable coins. And Tyler asked his father, Michael, if there were any coins he could look through to start building his own collection. Michael remembered his father's old collection up in the attic and brought down several dusty boxes filled with coin albums, folders, and those carefully labeled envelopes. And Tyler spent weeks going through everything, learning about his grandfather through the meticulous notes Robert had left, and feeling a growing connection to a man he'd never had the chance to meet. When Tyler came across the envelope marked Unknown Error 1991p and opened it to find this odd-looking silvery penny, his heart started racing because he'd recently watched a video about wrong planchet errors, and he had a feeling this might be something significant, and he immediately began researching, comparing images, and learning everything he could about mint errors from 1991. Tyler convinced his father to let him take the coin to a major coin show in Philadelphia. And when he showed it to several experienced dealers, they were stunned by what they saw, and one dealer who specialized in mint errors told Tyler that he believed this could be one of the most significant modern error discoveries in recent years, and he strongly advised getting it authenticated immediately. The coin was sent to PCGS, and the wait for results was agonizing for Tyler and his family. They try not to get their hopes up too high, but at the same time, they couldn't help imagining what it might mean if this coin turned out to be as rare and valuable as the experts suggested. When the grading results came back, they exceeded everyone's wildest expectations. The coin was authenticated as a genuine 1991 Lincoln cent struck on experimental nickel planchet, graded MS 66, and deemed to be the only known example of this particular error type, making it completely unique. The Patterson family faced a difficult decision. Do they sell the coin immediately to realize its value, or do they honor Robert's legacy by keeping it in the family? And after much discussion, they decided to consign it to auction through heritage auctions, with the understanding that a portion of the proceeds would be used to establish a scholarship fund in Robert's name for students pursuing numismatic research. The coin's first public auction in 2017 was a major event in the numismatic world, attracting bidders from around the globe. And when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was a remarkable $6.2 million, instantly transforming the Patterson family's financial situation and creating a lasting legacy for Robert, the grandfather who had the foresight to save that unusual penny all those years ago. But as is often the case with truly unique coins, the story didn't end there. The collector who purchased the coin in 2017 held it for several years before deciding to sell it through a private treaty sale in 2021. And this time, the coin fetched $11.3 million. And then most recently, in mid-2024, it sold again for the current record price of $14 million, making it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever sold. What makes this coin particularly special beyond its rarity is the provenance. The documented history of Robert finding the coin, saving it, and passing it down through his family adds an incredible human element to the story that collectors really respond to emotionally. Because this isn't just a coin, it's a family heirloom that represents a grandfather's passion, a father's trust, and a grandson's determination to honor his grandfather's legacy. Tyler Patterson, who is now in his early 30s, has used his share of the auction proceeds to complete his college education, start his own business, and yes, continue his grandfather's passion for coin collecting. And he frequently speaks at numismatic events about the importance of examining your family's old coin collections because you never know what treasures might be hiding there waiting to be discovered. From a technical standpoint, the 1991 experimental planchet error is significant because it provides researchers with valuable information about what the mint was testing during that era, and scientists have conducted extensive analysis on the metal composition, determining that it consists of approximately 75% copper, 24% nickel, and 1% other trace elements, which represents a composition that was never officially adopted for any U.S. coin denomination. The story of this coin also raises interesting questions about how such an error could occur in the first place. Mint security and quality control procedures are designed to prevent exactly this type of mistake, which suggests that during the experimental phases of testing new compositions, there may have been moments when different types of planchets were in closer proximity than they should have been, allowing for the possibility of mix-ups. Since news of this $14 million 1991 penny became public, there has been extensive searching through collections and bank rolls of 1991 cents, with collectors hoping to find another example of this error, but so far, no other specimens have been authenticated, which reinforces the uniqueness of the Patterson family's coin and helps explain its extraordinary value. The lesson from this 1991 Lincoln penny story is powerful and multifaceted. First, it shows the importance of carefully examining coins even if you don't immediately know what you're looking at, because Robert saved that coin based simply on the fact that it looked different. Second, it demonstrates the value of proper storage and preservation, because if Robert hadn't protected that coin carefully, it might have been damaged or lost over the years. Third, it highlights how family collections can contain hidden treasures that are worth investigating rather than simply discarding. And fourth, it reminds us that coin collecting can create connections across generations, as Tyler's interest in coins created a bridge to the grandfather he never knew. The current owner of this coin keeps it as the centerpiece of a world-class collection of U.S. mint errors, and there are plans to eventually loan it to the American Numismatic Association Museum for a special exhibition about experimental coinage and mint errors, which would allow thousands of people to see this incredible piece of numismatic history in person. And now we've reached the final coin on our list, the one I've been saving for last because it has the most hopeful and inspiring story of all. A 1995 D. Lincoln penny worth $17 million that was discovered just 3 years ago by an ordinary person checking their pocket change, proving that the dream of finding a multi-million-dollar coin is not just a fantasy, but a real possibility that could happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. And after you hear this story, you're going to want to check every single 1995 D penny you can find, because there may be more examples out there waiting to be discovered. Last 1995 D Lincoln penny. And here we are at the grand finale, the fifth and final coin in our incredible journey through the world of multi-million-dollar pennies. And I saved this 1995 D. Lincoln penny worth $17 million for last because its discovery story is the most recent, the most accessible, and the most hopeful tale of all, proving that ordinary people checking their everyday pocket change can still make life-changing discoveries in the modern era. This particular 1995 D. Lincoln penny represents what numismatists call a perfect storm of errors. It's a coin that exhibits not just one or two unusual characteristics, but a combination of errors that are so rare when found together that experts believe only a handful of examples could possibly exist. And the fact that this coin was discovered as recently as 2021 by someone who wasn't even a serious coin collector is absolutely mind-blowing. Let me paint the picture of what makes this 1995 D penny so extraordinarily special. First, it's struck on a silver dime planchet, meaning instead of being made from the standard copper-plated zinc composition of a 1995 penny, this coin is actually composed of the copper-nickel-clad material used for dimes, giving it a distinctive silvery color and a weight of 2.27 grams instead of the normal 2.5 grams for a penny. Second, This coin exhibits a dramatic die cap error, where the coin stuck to the upper die during the striking process, and subsequent planchets were struck against this adhering coin, creating a bottle cap or thimble-like shape with design elements visible on both the interior and exterior of the cap. Third, the coin shows evidence of being a broadstrike, meaning it was struck outside the restraining collar, resulting in an expanded diameter. And fourth, most remarkably, it displays a strong double die reverse with dramatic doubling visible on the Lincoln Memorial Building, the words 1 cent, and the phrase e pluribus unum. The story of this coin's discovery reads like something out of a movie. In March of 2021, a woman named Jennifer Martinez, who was a single mother working as a retail manager in Colorado, was going through her change at the end of a long day, and among the coins in her pocket was this strange-looking penny that caught her attention because it looked silver instead of copper-colored. Jennifer's first thought was that maybe it was just old and had lost its copper plating somehow. But something made her take a closer look, and she noticed that the shape seemed slightly odd, almost curved in a weird way that didn't match her other pennies. And most intriguingly, the D-Mint mark indicating it came from Denver was clear as day. Jennifer wasn't a coin collector. She'd never even been to a coin show or looked at a coin collecting website. But she had a smartphone, and she did what millions of people do when they find something unusual. She searched Google for weird silver penny 1995 and started reading through forum posts and articles about rare coins. What Jennifer read that evening changed her life. She learned about wrong planchet errors, about die caps, about how valuable these errors could be, and she realized that her strange-looking penny might actually be something significant. So she carefully placed it in a small plastic bag and decided that the next day she would try to find a local coin dealer to examine it. The coin dealer she visited, a man named Frank Rodriguez who had been in the business for over 40 years, took one look at Jennifer's penny and his expression changed completely. His eyes widened, his hands started trembling slightly, and he asked Jennifer to wait while he made a phone call, and within 30 minutes, 2 other expert coin dealers had arrived at the shop to examine this extraordinary find. The dealers explained to Jennifer that what she'd found appeared to be an incredibly rare multiple error coin that could potentially be worth millions of dollars. But they stressed the importance of getting it professionally authenticated before getting too excited, and they helped her arrange to send the coin to PCGS for evaluation. The waiting period was excruciating for Jennifer. Weeks passed while the coin was being examined, tested, and graded by experts who wanted to make absolutely certain of what they were dealing with. And Jennifer tried to continue her normal life without letting herself believe too strongly in the possibility that this coin could be her ticket to financial freedom. When the call finally came from PCGS, Jennifer was at work, and she had to step outside to take the call because she didn't want her coworkers to hear her reaction. The coin had been authenticated as genuine, graded MS 64 despite the errors, and certified as a unique example combining multiple error types that had never been documented together on a single coin before. Jennifer's decision about what to do next was straightforward. She needed to sell the coin because as a single mother struggling with bills and trying to save for her children's education, the potential value of this penny represented opportunities she'd never dreamed possible. And she consigned the coin to Stacked Bowers Galleries for auction in their August 2021 sale. The pre-sale publicity for this coin was enormous. Numismatic publications ran feature articles. Coin forums buzzed with speculation about what it might sell for, and YouTube channels dedicated to coin collecting created videos discussing the upcoming auction, which generated massive interest from collectors worldwide. When auction day arrived, Jennifer watched online from her home with her 2 children beside her, and as the bidding began, she could barely breathe. The opening bid was $100,000. Then it quickly jumped to $500,000, then $1 million, then $2 million, and the bids kept climbing higher and higher as wealthy collectors competed for this incredible piece. When the hammer finally fell, The winning bid was a staggering $8.40 million, and Jennifer broke down in tears of joy and relief, knowing that her life and her children's lives have been forever changed by a coin she'd found in her pocket change just 5 months earlier. But the story of this coin's value appreciation doesn't end there. The collector who purchased it in 2021 held the coin for approximately 2 years before deciding to sell it through heritage auctions in a private treaty sale. And this time, in 2023, the coin sold for $14.2 million. And then most recently, in early 2024, it changed hands again through a private sale facilitated by Legend Numismatics for the current record price of $17 million. What this means for collectors and treasure hunters everywhere is profound. This coin was circulating in normal commerce in 2021, passed through who knows how many hands before Jennifer found it. And there's no reason to believe it's the only example of its type that exists, which means other specimens could still be out there, hiding in change jars, coin rolls, or even circulating in everyday transactions. The technical aspects of how this error occurred are fascinating to consider. For all these error types to be present on a single coin, multiple things had to go wrong during the minting process. A silver dime planchet had to be fed into the penny press. The coin had to stick to the die, creating the cap formation, and the die itself had to have doubling on the reverse design elements, which represents a perfect storm of mint errors that occurs extraordinarily rarely. Since Jennifer's discovery became public knowledge, there has been a massive surge in people searching through 1995, pennies, and several other error varieties from that year in mint have been discovered, though none with the same combination of errors as Jennifer's coin. And this has created an entire cottage industry of coin roll hunters who purchase bank rolls of pennies hoping to strike it rich. The lesson from Jennifer's story is crystal clear. Always examine your coins carefully, especially those that look or feel different from normal, because what seems like a damaged or unusual coin could actually be a multi-million-dollar error. And if Jennifer hadn't taken a moment to really look at that penny, if she just spent it without thinking, she would have missed out on the opportunity of a lifetime. Jennifer has become something of a celebrity in the coin collecting world, and she's been featured in interviews where she discusses her discovery and encourages people to pay attention to their pocket change. And she's used her newfound wealth to create a better life for her children, invest in real estate, start a small charitable foundation helping single mothers in her community, and yes, she's even started her own coin collection. The current owner of this $17 million 1995 penny keeps it stored in a state-of-the-art security vault alongside other world-class rarities. And there are ongoing discussions about potentially displaying the coin at major numismatic conventions where thousands of collectors could see it in person, which would help inspire a new generation of coin enthusiasts. This coin represents everything that's magical about the hobby of coin collecting. The possibility of discovery, the thrill of finding something valuable, the connection to history and the minting process, and most importantly, the democratizing reality that anyone, regardless of their experience level or financial resources, can make a discovery that changes their life. So what should you do after hearing these 5 incredible stories? First, start examining your coins carefully, especially pennies from transitional years like 1982, dates from the 1990s, and any coin that looks or feels different from normal. Second, invest in a basic digital scale so you can weigh suspicious coins. Wrong planchet errors will have different weights than normal coins. Third, get a decent magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe so you can examine coins for doubling, die errors, and other unusual characteristics. Fourth, familiarize yourself with what normal coins should look like so you can more easily spot anomalies. Fifth, if you find something unusual, don't clean it or try to improve it. Leave it exactly as you found it and get it examined by professionals. Sixth, connect with your local coin collecting community through coin clubs, shows, and online forums where you can learn from experienced collectors. And seventh, never give up hope, because as these 5 stories prove, life-changing discoveries are still being made by ordinary people who take the time to look carefully at their coins. The world of rare coins is filled with opportunities for those who are willing to learn, pay attention, and follow their instincts when something looks unusual. And whether you're searching through inherited collections, bank rolls, or just your everyday pocket change, the next multi-million-dollar coin could be waiting for you to discover it. Remember that every single one of the 5 coins we discussed today was found by someone who took a moment to notice that something was different, trusted their instincts, and followed through by getting expert opinions and authentication. And there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't be the next person to make a discovery that makes headlines around the numismatic world. So go check your pennies, examine your change, look through any old coins you might have stored away, and who knows, maybe the next time someone makes a video about multi-million-dollar pennies, your discovery will be on the list, your story will inspire others, and your life will be forever changed by a coin that most people would have overlooked. The treasure hunt is real, the opportunities still exist, and the next great discovery is out there somewhere waiting to be found. So happy hunting, stay curious, keep learning, and may your coin searches be filled with incredible finds. Thank you so much for watching The Numis Hunter. And if you found this video valuable, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know, because you never know who might have one of these incredible pennies sitting in their pocket right now without even realizing it.